Hi and welcome back to our channel, where we recap your favorite games for you. Today we will be recapping Evil West. So without further ado, let's begin. To counter these evil creatures back, an organization was reformed. The members of these organizations acquired and trained to equip skills for the destruction of these negative forces. As the narrator's voice fades in the background, we see a few eagles encircling the sun while flying high in the sky. A train can be seen running on the track with two cowboys on the trail for it. Edgar and Jesse appear to have a quick run-through of their plan while a man apparently in quite a distress can be seen inside the train. They go to an uphill position from where they set an explosion upon the bridge. As soon as the train reaches midway through the bridge, they pull the trigger causing the bridge to be torn into pieces. Edgar breaks off the door of what now is a destroyed train, while Chester, the distressed man, shows his fangs, but before he could do something, Edgar grabs him by his collar. Seeing the train loaded with tanks of blood, they mock and threaten him by putting him in the sun, which resulted from Chester explaining how there is a gathering happening in Belmonteville. Hearing this, they keep Chester in a coffin bound tightly with silver chains and drag him along with them in scorching heat to the location. As they reach there before freeing Chester, they bound his chest with dynamite. He asks them to hush around so he can disconnect the illusion from the source while pointing out at the blue wall. He pulls his hand through the wall and a light blooms, followed by the destruction of the wall. In the meantime, a man along with a girl child can be seen what appears to be the leaders of the vampire community. The man named Peter continues to emphasize how the humans are getting stronger and it's their time to finally cause a strike. Dominic expresses their displeasure about the point of Peter initiating a war. They announce his and his daughter for true death. Felicity, hearing this, shows displeasure to her father, but before anything else could happen, Edgar and Jesse attack. Peter appears as a hideous monster, but they destroy him too and chop off his head. Before leaving the place, they explode it with explosions. As they return to the manor, Edgar hands Jesse the head and leaves. Jesse comes to his father's office trying to take his side of Edgar to push off his retirement. But his father gets extremely upset, asking him to start seeing things his way. Jesse is upset hearing how his father just wants him to stick in the office rather than run behind slaying the beast. Leaves the office. Jesse's father William starts the presentation, explaining how the glamour as shown in the earlier scenes is a protective trick vampires have used for themselves, but now with a piece of equipment like Zapper, they will be able to pull off even that. But before they could complete the discussion, a huge hot air balloon crashes into the building and an army of vampires starts attacking everything. The chaos happens with William asks Jesse to bring Edgar. As Jesse enters the building, he sees Felicity cradling her father's head. As soon as she sees him, she runs toward him to kill him. But an explosion happens. In the carriage, as everyone tried to escape, William hands Jesse a key, asking him to keep it all safe as he is the only one left now. Hearing this, Jesse asks Edgar to stop as they all are going to prevent the attack now. But his father's health gets worsened. With this, they rush to the Chicago headquarters where they meet Amelia, the doctor. Jesse had weird versions of Felicity. James shows his displeasure about the attack and emphasis on to rush things up. Uncertain of where to look, Edgar and Jesse had a discussion. But Amelia pitches in, highlighting how up north there is a location known to the locals as the Devil's Pass. When Jesse went there, he encounters Agent Bloom, who fills him in on the details of how the humans were fastly turning into these blood-sucking monsters when exposed to the light. The scene changes with Jesse in Calico Town having a drink with Edgar, where hesitantly Edgar puts a notion of Jesse's father being infected. Astonished by the comment, Edgar tries to comment on how it is impossible, but Edgar emphasizes how this could have been the perfect plan of their enemy, or why else they would let Jesse and William both walk out of the attack alive. Feeling stressed, Jesse with Amelia go to the engineer to have a discussion about the foul blood and to reactivate the disruptor, but despite his tries, the disruptor gets the energy charge. On the quest to find the original disruptor as requested by Verge, both him and Jesse went down to Black Hill where they find the power energy cut out. Through a dislocated train, they reach the basement where they find the skull of the pre-native Colombian creature Piazza, which appears like the head of a dinosaur. Looking at the entry in the register, which was 3 years ago, they realized it was around when the first ticks came in the picture. The game moves forward and we see Jesse back in Verge Lab when Agent Bloom's rush in, informing us about a few ticks set loose in the basement. Hearing this, Jesse gets upset. When Amelia confronts him about his father being hidden away behind the door from Agent Bloom, she is put in place. To show her anger, she immediately turns the entire conversation into a professional tone and asks him to follow her. Putting through an analysis of the creature Jesse brought initially, she explains how the creature is some sort of container, a food source Felicity is feeding to her army. She mentions McCallum Swam Hill and how its purchase was put entirely under the cover. Jesse decides to go over there and figure out the secrecy kept around it by the military. Upon reaching there, he filled the vessel with a magical pound, drinking from which all the vampires get magic in their blood. Commenting how he has really started to hate mythology now, Jesse burned the trees and ponds with a fire gun. But with the sample, he came back with the aid of Agent Bloom and Amelia to figure out the reason behind the vampire attack on Baxter. Turns out that all this time they were trying to protect their source. This was the magic potion they used to convert the higher families. Jesse explains how Peter must have imported this all into the country, but now this has ended, but the screams from outside make them rush to see what happened. Agent Bloom was held down to his neck by William. Jesse rushes to inject his father and make him sleep. Seeing this, Amelia holds a gun toward William and asks Jesse to step away. But Jesse remains adamant, commenting on how as soon as things come to Daddy Dearest, Jesse is having doubts about the policy of the agency. He finally tells Amelia how Edgar has gone to find the plant that can make the Regan compound that can save his father. She gives him an ultimatum of a day and asks to put his father under surveillance. Digging more into the compound, Virgil and Amelia found out how it can reverse the process. Jesse rushed to the place and found Edgar stuck by the roots. In the midst of this, a monster attacked Jesse from behind. After a terrific battle, Jesse gets successful in getting Edgar free, who hands him over the plant called La Orchid de la Vila, an antidote to the vampire royal bloodline. This handing over the plant is followed by an emotional chat between Edgar and Jesse, who apologized to him for how he can never have a normal life just like him and his father. He wished that things would have been different for Jesse, but for a longer duration of his time, this was something he considered normal. As they bring back the plant, they see the hero has arrived as well, thinking that Dr. Amelia has sold them out, revealing Jesse's father's condition. Amelia gets extremely upset and asks them to rush to meet his father. She also comments on how much this action of theirs explained the trust between them. She instructs Jesse about the clean equipment in the lab. As Jesse injects the antidote, his father asks him to kill Felicity, but turns out Felicity has been mind-linked with William. She can be seen in his mind begging him to open the door of thoughts for them. To let the condition not worsen further, Edgar gave them an electric shock. Knowing the location of Felicity, Jesse decides to go hunt her down. But when he comes out, Harrow expresses his condolences for the dismal of his father. Jesse plays along with Dr. Amelia's lie, and Harrow makes Jesse go to Kingston to bring forth important documents. Otherwise, he will send Virgil, which has next to no experience in field work. Here Jesse gets to fight off a huge monster before securing the briefcase, where he also gets to know from Biddle how Harrow wanted to generate profits out of it, but when they decide to go beyond 10%, that's when he cuts them off. When Biddle asks how he will go back, Jesse asks him to walk. This leaves Biddle frustrated and he storms his feet on the floor. Walking out in anger, Jesse goes back and slams the table upon which Harrow was sitting. But instead of being afraid, Harrow laughs at the comment of how the guards paid with their lives for one paycheck. He shows off how he is the Secretary of War. Jesse, fuming, comes to see his father having a chat with Virgil. He fills his father in about the information of his fake death, who in return explains to him how familiar he has been with Harrow's lust for power. He also mentions his vision, in which he sees death and trillions of monsters. He also sees how they are all being transported by trains. Hearing this, Virgil becomes horrified, as Dixon is a hub for railway tracks. The scene shifts and we find Jesse standing in front of Felicity, asking her to let people go, but she burns them in response. She asks him to join the change as mankind was about to perish. A servant monster attacks him, but he defeats it. Although, being tired from the previous fight, he gets knocked over by Felicity, who turns into an extremely hideous creature. He is saved by a Father Riverdale, who during the conversation mentions lighting, which Jesse gives the idea of where the first gauntlet might be. Jesse sends a telegram to Calico and saves everyone there. The father personally calls him a hero and thanks him, saying how they need people like him these days. Another lady comes forth to thank Jesse for his bravery. As he is about to ride a horse, Father also mentions how they wrote to Harrow, but they didn't get any constructive answers back. Jesse instructs them to contact him directly from now on. Jesse meets up with Virgil and charges up his weapon. They come back only to find that Harrow has figured out everything about Jesse's father is alive. Harrow appoints Amelia as the new director of the facility, but she strongly objects to him, making him run away. He also threatens how he will tell the president everything. Jesse went to see his father back on his feet, ready to kill Felicity and put an end to everything. Jesse went to see Edgar, who punched him, showing his concern about how he didn't know he was alive and thought him dead. It was a beautiful moment showing the dew bond they share. They find Chester pulling a dragger through his hand. He explains how Felicity is going for the capital, and along with building the army, she is considering herself the queen. All the stunts she has been pulling were to make the vampire community believe that she is the best option for them as a leader. He also explains how the plant is a temporary solution. Even with a single drop of blood, the vampire instincts will come back with vengeance. Horrified hearing this, both Edgar and Jesse run back to his father. But as they enter back into the building, they find the tables trashed down and walls filled with blood. Edgar rushes to Agent Bloom, having his head buried into his hands, praying how there was so much blood. A flashback followed full of screams. Jesse rushes to find Amelia, but he finds her sitting with the dead body of Virgil. She looks at him with longing at how he was so happy to finally found his place, only to be dead because of her fault. She thought the antidote was going to work, but she thought wrong. Jesse consoled her and rushes to stop his father. Edgar prevents him, but Jesse shrugs him, explaining how his father was dead a really long time ago. He went to find his father, who invites him to join him. But Jesse's refusal turns him upset, with a fight breaking out between them. But in the end, Jesse kills his father. He goes to find Peter, who reveals how Felicity is going to D.C., where in an opera she will kill the president. He mocks Jesse how he will never be able to reach D.C. in time, but Jesse accepts the challenge by saying, "Watch me." We see Harrow flying balloon coming in the picture, and the entire team reaches the place. They started fighting everyone. Jesse and Felicity have a full-blown fight, with the end Jesse burning her alive. Harrow, when tries to explain to the president everything happens. Dr. Amelia hit him hard on his jaw. The president decided to take action against Harrow and promised to return to Jesse everything his father owned. The game ends here. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, then please consider liking our video and subscribing to our channel. We will see you in the next one.